Good evening to you all. I welcome you all to the NetSet mentoring series. Today we have Ms. Jaina Gajjar and she will be speaking on Victorian novels. She cleared her GCET in 2018 and she is currently working in Athmew University. Without delaying much, I shall hand over to Ms. Jaina. Over to you, Jaina.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This is such a good opportunity to be able to talking to all these people here. And yeah, I also welcome you all because this is my department only. And it's lovely talking in here every time. So without much wasting the time, I directly will start with my presentation. So, as Madam mentioned, I will be talking about Victorian novelists, and here I will be talking about the novelists and also their works. And I will not include Charles Dickens because he was taken by other expert. So, other than Dickens, I have taken four novelists here and their works. So, I think this is going to be useful for your NET or SLET exam. Let's get started with it. So, firstly, talking about this Victorian age, so what used to happen there? So, this Victorian age mainly in literature and for the Britain, it was the age for great transformation. You all know this because from rural and agricultural, they were becoming urban, and we had a lot of impact of industrialization. So the Britain, it was transforming. And there's another thing that poor, they were extremely exploited. There was rise of the middle class, but then again the poor, they were exploited extremely. And also in Victorian age, we do have the Reform Bill of 1832. So this Reform Bill of 1832 brought a lot of changes, mainly politically, and it was then that women were formally and officially excluded from the voting. So there was one thing about this Reform Bill of 1832. And we see this shift in Victorian age. We see this shift from the romantic ideals of the previous age towards a more realistic acceptance. So, if you read the novel and if you have the idea of the Victorian age and the literature, you'll realize that it's more realistic in nature, and mainly it portrayed the society that was around it. So, that was Victorian age. Now, the novelist that I will be including here is William Thackeray, uh, Elizabeth
Hello,
Gaskell.
hello, China. Sorry for the
Yes,
interruption, but you please share the slideshow.
I am sharing already. It's not.
I think is it like it is not visible, I guess.
Yeah, ma'am, please start the slideshow.
I did already. Okay, just let me do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, your slides are visible, but you can just turn on the slideshow.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Now, okay, ready?
Yeah.
Or it's still not coming?
Ma'am, just click on the slideshow option on your screen.
I did already. Uh, now,
Mm, Yeah,
Mm.
ma'am, we can read your slides, but
just
it,
okay,
it
okay,
can
let me
get a
do it
slightly
again.
bigger. Yeah, yeah.
I stopped sharing. Let me do it again. Everything. Now, Parth, is it okay?
Uh, it's actually the same, but fine. We can read it, ma'am.
No, I mean, why is it not happening? I mean, I can see the slideshow here.
Okay.
So,
Madam, I'm not able to even see that slide. So, madam.
oh, okay. Parth sir, shall I leave and come back again? I think that
Yeah,
would be,
yeah. Sure,
है
sure,
ना?
sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm leaving and I'm joining again.
Fine, fine. No worries.
Okay.
I believe she is not uh, shared through the tab window. है ना? है ना, दीदी?
Yes, maybe you are right, Path.
Maybe she was sharing her full screen.
Because
Yeah,
even
yeah.
I am not able to see anything at all, not even
Okay, okay.
slides.
Yeah. Maybe she was sharing her full screen.
Huh.
She could have clicked on the
Yeah,
tab
that's
and
why.
then, yeah.
That's why. Yeah.
Now, do you have the full screen?
Um,
Not.
uh, Not yet. Ma'am, on your Google Meet screen, when you click on share screen, just select the tab option.
Okay, now I think it should be seen.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Perfect now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so sorry for that. I know how to use this, but I think something went wrong. So this is not the first time that I'm using this. But anyway, okay. So yeah, we talked about the Victorian age and what was happening then. So the novelists that I will be including here is William Thackeray, Elizabeth Gaskell, Thomas Hardy, and George Eliot. Now, out of these four, you might be very much familiar with the last two, that is Hardy and Eliot, but we do have to talk about the first two, that is Thackeray and Elizabeth Gaskell. So let's just see. Now, with Thackeray, we have a biographer, a British biographer. His name is Devil Cecil. He's saying that uh, Dickens can be cheap, Trollope can be flat, Thackeray can be worse. Thackeray can be a bore. So he's literally saying this, and he said this because Thackeray he was very much uncertain when it comes to his books, and he did not care to weave the different strands of his story together. So there always used to be some loose ends, and therefore he said this. Now talking about Thackeray, he began his career as a writer uh, by writing for Fraser's magazine. So, this question can be there in net or sled that, how did he begin his career or with which magazine? So, such type of questions do come in net or sled exam. So, this can be useful there. And then in 1830s, he became the notable contributor of the articles on varied topics to the New Monthly magazine and later to Punch. So these two are the names of magazines for which he used to write. And before getting the success for Vanity Fair, because he mainly is known for his Vanity Fair, which is a novel, we'll be discussing about it. But before Vanity Fair, he also, worked as a freelancer, a freelance journalist, and he was writing literary criticism, art criticism, topical articles, and all these other things. And there's this funny thing that he used to write all these articles under very funny pseudonyms. pen names. So he used to take the names like Mr. Michelangelo, Titmarsh, or Fitzboodle, the Fat Contributor, or Ike Solomons. So these were some of the very funny pseudonyms that he used to take, and he used to write about it. Now, Vanity Fair, I'm sorry. So the whole name is Vanity Fair, a novel without a hero. Now, it was this Fair that gave him the success. And this novel, it was published in Punch. Punch again is the name of that magazine, in 20 monthly parts under his own name. So this was the first thing that he wrote with his own name. And he said, he gave the name A Novel Without Hero because he said that his business is not with the ideal or heroics of life, but he wanted to portray the life and the human as he sees them around them. So therefore, he gave this title A Novel Without Hero. Now, initially, this Vanity Fair, he did face some, rejection. It was a slow start, and the first chapters were rejected by several publishers, so nobody was happy with it. And then later, it picked up, and to an extent that Vanity Fair gained him the notice and reviews in journals such as Edinburgh Review. So this Edinburgh Review was a huge name then, so getting there and getting recognition for it, it was something really huge and important for the writers of that era. So it was Vanity Fair that brought him this success. And this Vanity Fair, it mainly is about these two female, that is Emmy and Becca, and their contradiction, and their journey through marriage and family and stuff. So you have Becky, who is very manipulative, witty, and then you have, on the other hand, Emmy, who is very passive and sweet and docile kind of a girl. And then this Vanity Fair, it talks about their love and marriage and family. So it was that. His Pandanus, now again, this Pandanus, it has a very long name. The entire name is The History of Pandanus, His Fortunes and Misfortunes, His Friend and His Greatest Enemy. So this entire is the name of his novel. It came out in 1849 and 50, and it ran concurrently with David Copperfield of Dickens, and it was then with the publication of Pandanus that the people started comparing him with Dickens. So that was one thing. And this David Masson, he compared him to Dickens in North British Review. So these again are some names of the journals and magazines which are frequently asked in NET or SLET. So this can be helpful there. So that was with Thackeray. Now we have Elizabeth Clegane Gaskell. She was a very good friend. She happens to be the friend of Charlotte Bronte, and she has written the biography for her as well. So this Gaskell, she's a novelist, short story writer, and the first biographer of Charlotte Bronte. She's mainly known for her Cranford and North and South. And the Athenaeum, it rated Gaskell as, if not the most popular, with small question, the most powerful and finished female novelist of an epoch, singularly rich in female novelists. So yeah, she got the recognition that was needed, and she was extremely famous then. Now, how did she start her career? So, her kid died. Her infant son died in 1845, and to turn her mind from there, she started writing. And Mary Barton was her first work, and it was published anonymously in 1848. And to her surprise, this work, Mary Barton, it brought her the praise from Charles Dickens. Now you imagine, this is so huge, getting praise from, such a huge man like Charles Dickens, such a successful writer of that era. And he called her Dear Sherazad. This Scheherazade is the Sultan's wife in Arabian Night, if you are familiar with that. So she was the Sultan's wife in Arabian Nights, and she used to, who used to tell the stories to save her life. So that way, Dickens was calling her Dear Scheherazade because she used to give such a good stories. And not only that, Dickens also invited her to contribute in his journal. So that was something really big. Now, with the publication of Ruth again is written by Gaskell. Now, it brought her the controversy that she never wanted. So, this Ruth, it was about, it was an exploration of seduction and illegitimacy. So, now, you can't say that was extremely modern or forward. No, those people, they were not ready to accept certain things, and this was one of it. So they, it was highly controversial. And the second, so in the entire lifetime, Gaskell, she faced two controversies. The first one was with the publication of Ruth, and the second was with the publication of her biography for Charlotte Bronte, that is the life of Charlotte Bronte, that also was very much controversial. So in her entire lifetime, these two works of her brought her the controversy that she never wanted. Now, most critics would say that her cousin Phyllis, that is a name, is the crowning achievement in the short novel. And in 55, she published North and South, which is about the study of tensions between mill owners and workers. So this again can be asked that, North and South is about what? And so this can be helpful there. She was still working on Wives and Daughters, an everyday story. That's the name of the work. It was a humorous coming of age tale, but she died of a stroke before she could finish it. So that was Gaskell and some of her works and other things. Thomas Hardy, a very famous and again a very controversial name of the Victorian era. You can say that synonymous to controversy. So he again has faced rejection and controversy in his life, both. Now, before talking about Hardy, we know that the Victorian readers, they, were strongly affected by the political and economic and social and religious changes. But then, instead of writing about that earlier, Hardy, he mainly, set his novels in his homeland, which, he says has railways moving, reaping, machines, illiterate laborers, all these things. So he liked that, and we all know the Wessex, that he has this fictional town. So mostly his novels were set there. Now, his first novel, The Poor Man and the Lady, it was finished in 67, but again it failed to find any publisher. So he did not have any publisher earlier. Then, he showed this work and talked to his friend and mentor, George Meredith. Now, this George Meredith again was a successful name in the Victorian age. He was a poet and a novelist. So he showed this work to him, and Meredith said that his The Poor Man and the Lady, it was politically controversial, and that might damage Hardy's ability to further to publish in future. And therefore, Hardy, he took his advice, he followed his advice, and he chose not to publish this particular work. He never published this work. In fact, he destroyed the manuscript also. But then it is said that he used some of the ideas in his later work. So, this, The Poor Man and the Lady, it never got published. He himself had destroyed the manuscript of it. Now, Tests of the D'Urbervilles. I remember we have had this novel while I was there in MA. So we've studied this novel. So again, a rejection here, earlier rejection. The first novel never got published. It did not have any publisher. The same happened here with Tess as well. So in 1889, he submitted the beginning of the manuscript for Tess. Was earlier named as Too Late Beloved. So that was the first name given to this particular novel. And he gave this manuscript to Tillotson and Sons publisher, that is the name of the publishers, but they refused to publish it, mainly because they were not happy with the narrative content, so they refused. Again, it faced the second rejection. So it was further rejected by Murray's magazine and Macmillan's magazine also. And after getting rejected by three publishers, he revised it. He worked really hard and he revised this entire thing and gave it another title. Then he came up with the title Tales of the D'Urbervilles. And then finally he got the publishers and other things. Now, while he was around this and he was surrounded by this controversy of Tess, because Tess also, created some controversies. So while he was surrounded by it, he wrote an essay called Candor in English Fiction. So, this question can come there, that candor in English fiction is what? Is an essay or a poem or novel. So it was an essay written by Hardy, wherein he talked about the censorship of the Victorian age, and he believed that this kind of censorship ignores the true reality. So he did not like that part of the Victorian era. These are some other works by him, that from 1898 until his death in 1928, he published 8 volumes of poetry. Yes, so Hardy has also written poems. He also published The Dynasts, which is a huge poetic drama in 3 parts, 19 acts and 130 scenes. And he also has written 3 short story collections. So a novel is a novelist, a poet, and also a short story writer, like Wessex Tales, Life's Little Ironies, and the Group of Noble Dames. Now, these are the names of his short story collection. So he's a very versatile writer. It's just that uh, he was always surrounded by some or the other controversy. He and was not, as we saw here, he was not happy with the censorship of the Victorian era. And then comes the last one, George Eliot. Now, George Eliot is a very interesting character. If you see her personal life, she has had a very interesting and controversial life. Again, so if you see all these writers, they had controversy always around them. So, firstly, she has these different names. Her real name, as we all know, was Mary Ann Evans. Then she was also called Marian Evans Lewis, Marian N. Cross, all these things. Now, why did she change the name and the other things that we will be discussing later. So now in one of her letters to William Blackwood, she says, and we all know this reason that why she took this name George Eliot. So basically, she took this name to conceal her identity as a female, to conceal her gender. That is one thing, and also there's this other thing that she partly used this name, uh, to disguise her irregular social position, living as an unmarried woman with a married man. So that will come later. That she was unmarried and she was living with a married man. That was quite a huge thing then. Talking about her education, we have to mention her education here. I did not include the education in the rest of the other novelists, but I had to include it here because she was a very bright child. She used to read a lot, and it said that it is said that she was not very beautiful. So her father believed that instead of spending money on her beauty, or something like that, let me just invest my money on her education. And that turns out to be the great decision maybe of his life. And she also was allowed to browse through the library, and she was getting the education which was then not afforded by many women. So it was the greatest advantage that she got. Now, because of her study and her education, she was able to speak several languages. She knew German, she knew Hebrew, Greek, these languages, and therefore, it helped her to translate these two works. She translated David Friedrich Strauss' Life of Jesus, and Ludwig Feuerbach's The Essence of Christianity. She translated these two words into English, and then eventually, it led her to the renunciation of the Christian faith. Her first full length novel, so before that, she had written something here and there, but then her first full length novel was Adam Bede, 1859, and it was the immediate success. It brought her not only the fame but also the wealth that she needed. She got a lot of money, and she became a very popular name among among everybody. Everybody knew her, and she was extremely famous by then. Now, there's one interesting thing about her personal life that we saw that Victorian society was quite narrow-minded when it comes to single women, and especially she was a single woman and working woman, or writer. So that was quite uncomfortable for people of that time. She started living, and she was traveling with George Lewis, who was a married man. And then these two, they started living together openly. Now, this was such a huge step. During that time, living together without getting married, that was something, unacceptable. But they started living together, they never got married. But Eliot, she was so famous that people used to invite her to their house, and to their gathering, and this and that, along with this man George Lewis. So people were okay with it, even with a status like this in the society. People were inviting them, and she was happy with it. And it was then she changed her name, so from Mary Ann Evans, she never married to this Lewis, but then she changed her name, and she started using his surname. So she started calling herself Marian. So Mary becomes Marian Evans Lewis. So that was one thing. And then after the death of this fellow, George Lewis, she again did something really controversial. She started living with John Walter Cross. Now, this Cross, he was 20 years junior to her. So she married him, of course. The previous, she never got married with Lewis, but she got married with Cross. They were living together, and there was 20 years of age gap. And then she took his surname as well, and therefore it is Mary Ann Cross. So again, then at the end, she changed her name back to Mary Ann Cross. So therefore we have these two three names for her. And then we have these different works. uh, she translated this ethics. Then she also contributed in as an assistant editor in Chapman's journal, the Minsters, I'm sorry, Review in 1851. So these names can be helpful for you all. Silas Marner, we have Romola by her, then Felix Holt, the Radical, then we have Middlemarch, and then we have her last novel, that is Daniel Deronda, and after that she moved to Whitley with her husband. So that was for George Eliot, and yeah, that's it. I think it was small, but I never wanted to include many writers, so I wanted to keep it short but clean, so that people get an idea and they get some names that will be helpful there for the net and slet exam. So yeah, that's it.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was a brief, crisp, but I believe very clear presentation. And that leaves us with a lot of time to have some interaction. Yeah, so now I request the participants if they have questions, comments, observations. These are giants, all the four novelists, and I think we have a lot of room for discussion.
Yeah, I mean, if you have anything to add here, that will be great. So
Uh,
instead of question, you all can add in here.
Please, please,
That would
yes.
be lovely.
Mm, I believe Jaina madam is aware that our teacher who taught us George Eliot is present in the session. Madam, I don't know if you are aware.
No, I am not.
Mr. Robin Thomas is present in the
Oh,
session.
Robin, sir.
I think his comments will be valuable.
Yes, he taught us Silas Marner.
Sir, if you would like to give inputs, suggestions, observations, please, sir. Sir is silent. Maybe he is thinking.
Yes. Oh, I did not notice this sir was here.
Yeah, you were busy presenting your slides.
Exactly.
Yes, participants, I think we will wait for Robin sir's comments,
Hmm.
his observations, and meanwhile, we have um, other presenters. Mr. Amin Sama is present, who made his presentation on Dickens. So if he has some observations or he wants to link these
Hmm.
novelists somewhere with Dickens, I mean that such a comparative
Hmm.
study also could be of use. Yes, questions, queries.
So I believe in and all Victorian age, it was a very interesting age. On one side you had this industrialization and
Hmm,
seeing they, we can say that they were growing, they were
correct.
developing. But then, when it comes to such things like, see, we have a lot of controversies there.
Hmm, hmm,
I think mentally, these people, they were still accepting those changes and they were still developing.
true. And this aspect of loss of faith
Hmm.
that you
That's,
highlighted,
yeah.
with regards to George Eliot, I
Ah,
think
yes,
that is so much visible in her novels.
exactly.
Silas Marner, for instance,
Hmm.
he undergoes a loss of faith,
Exactly, exactly.
and somewhere one can connect it with Darwin's publication of Origin of Species, which
Definitely.
yeah, which left England with a question, uh, which questions the conventional religion, the supremacy of church, and all those things.
Exactly. And it was such a bold step by her, to live openly without getting
True,
married with a married man. So that was such a bold step. I think nobody
certainly,
had done that there,
certainly,
and I guess.
true. So yeah, she was somebody who was different from her age.
Exactly. So I think, I would also tell these people who are still
Yes,
MA and masters, you should really study this age, Victorian age. It's really interesting, especially, if you see the political aspects, uh, always there on online sources. So go through it and you'll realize that it was something else. quite interesting. I liked that time.
Yeah, dear participants, you can even unmute yourself and speak. You can ask in case there is a question, in case you want to add something, or
I hope it was helpful, participants. Was it? Like, did it help you anywhere? I really would like to know. So, in the next session, I will be preparing accordingly.
true.
So, did it give you, some names that you did not know and you thought, anywhere that this can be helpful for future? I really would like to know that. Was this helpful in any way? I guess
Yeah,
that's a no.
and it's not a no. I believe they are absorbing things still. Uh, I mean, this is such a vast age, there's poetry, there's so much of novel, and
Novels,
there's
exactly.
drama, and it's almost 70 years, and a lot of rise and fall is
Fall,
seen in
exactly.
these 70 years. And all these women novelists, they are interesting from various dimensions.
Dimensions, exactly, yes.
True. Let me also remind dear participants in the meanwhile that we have a session tomorrow as well. Tomorrow being a Sunday, uh, uh, we generally don't have sessions, but tomorrow we have the session on the. I mean, we are beginning with the Romantic Age, and tomorrow's session will be focusing on the pre-Romantic voices by Dr. Hardeep Singh Gohil. So don't go anywhere, and join sharp at 6. Yes, for today, if we have something else, some comments, some observations. Fine. In that case, I think we can conclude this session here. Uh,
Okay.
Thank you so much, Miss Jaina Gajjar, on behalf
Thank
of the
you
Alumni
for
Association.
calling
I
me. Yeah.
No, no. On behalf of the Alumni Association, let me extend a formal vote of thanks to you for making yourself available. And do keep coming for further sessions. We have one more session planned by Miss China, and yes, you have the thanks dropping in the chat box from the participants. But thank you for making yourself available. Jaina madam was traveling to Junagadh, and in midst of that, she took pain to prepare for the session, and she has made herself available. So thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you all.
All right, thank you so
All right.
much. See you
Thank
all
you.
tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye.
Oh, there's a question, right? I don't know if Jaina is still there. Yeah, she has left. Maybe we can take this up tomorrow, or we can mail this question to Jaina. This is: does George Eliot has any influence of the rising feminist movements during the mid 19th century? It's an interesting question. Uh, uh, I wish the participant had asked it when the resource person was there, because it's a very important question. By any means, if we can, I don't know if Jaina is there.
No, she is not.
She's not there. All right, we can. Yeah. That's okay, Janani. We can mail your question to Jaina madam, and she will definitely respond. Fine. Yeah. Thank you so much.